Welcome back to our fifth video in the series for the certification exam rapid training for exam AZ204, the Azure developer exam. So this is the fifth of 6 videos. And again, these are 10 to 12 minutes, hopefully each. And we're focused then for this video on monitoring, troubleshooting, and optimizing Azure solutions. So we're looking at about 10 to 15% of the exam. We want to integrate caching and content delivery. So we're looking at CDNs within solutions. And then we're going to look at instrumenting solutions to support monitoring and logging. So you really want to key in on Azure Monitor, Log Analytics, App Insights, some of our telemetry across the platform. So getting started, we're going to look at Azure Cache and Azure CDN. So the focus of the exam is configuring the cache and expiration policies for either front door CDNs or Redis caches. Storing and retrieving data inside of a Redis, Azure Redis cache, and developing code to implement CDNs and solutions. So it's really understanding where we're going to store the various data, what types of data are we going to store across these various services, and how do we access the data in these services. So starting out, we're going to look at Redis. Redis is an open source NoSQL storage mechanism. It's implemented in that key value pattern. It's typically used as a cache to improve performance and scalability systems that rely heavily on back-end data stores. Performance is improved by temporarily copying frequently accessed data to fast storage located close to the application. So understand that data in Redis is stored in nodes and clusters. So nodes are the space in a Redis where your data is actually stored. The cluster are the sets of 3 or more nodes that your data set is going to actually be split across. So clusters are useful because your operations continue if a particular node fails or it's unable to communicate to that particular node or communicate to the rest of the cluster. So understand clustering. And again, Azure Redis is our managed implementation of the Redis cache. So the types of data that we would store, again, it's a key value pair. So we have a key such as intro, and the value may contain hello world. There's the various keys and types of values that you can store inside of a Redis cache with the various Redis data types. Notice you can also store a binary JPEG. So our operations, when we interact with Redis, Redis supports a set of known commands. The command is typically issued as command with additional parameters as well. So these commands you can see here, various commands that you may want to know for the exam and address for Redis. Azure CDN. So this is a content delivery network. The key here is understanding, again, the types of data that can be stored and where the data is stored, and understanding the point of presence aspect of the Azure CDN service. And we have 3 providers for CDNs currently on the Azure platform with Verizon, Akamai, and Microsoft. So this kind of demonstrates the point of presence implementation. So you're going to access the closest CDN, and this is those point of presence edge servers. Do understand there's more point of presence edge servers than there are Azure data centers. So we're looking at the point of presence server and accessing for lower latency. You can actually expire data inside of the Azure CDN. So your cache data can actually expire, and you can apply rules for that cache expiration. So it could be out of date or stale information. So it's good to control when that content is actually refreshed. And that's actually what you're doing with these cache expiration rules. and understanding that these caching rules can be applied and specify the expiration behavior both globally and with custom conditions. So you can have global caching rules and custom caching rules that can apply specifically to the endpoint in your profile. So monitoring and logging, we're looking at configuring instrumentation in an app or service with app insights. So we really want to understand how to instrument our applications with application insights. Analyzing log data and troubleshooting solutions with Azure Monitor. Implementing app insights, web tests, and alerts. So we can actually test our web applications and make sure they're up and running with, say, a ping service using web tests and alert on those if they are actually down. Implement code that handles transient faults. So hopefully by now you've been a developer on the Azure platform and understand transient faults and how to handle transient faults and what a transient fault actually entails. So Azure Monitor at a high level, it shows a high level view here of Azure Monitor. The center of the diagram are the different data stores for metrics and logs. It's really where you have to focus is understand the different types of data in terms of metrics and logs. And they're the two fundamental data types used by Azure Monitor. On the left side is the sources of monitoring data that can populate these different data stores. And then on the right are the different functions that Azure Monitor performs with the collected data, such as analysis, alerting, streaming to external systems. So the key here is to understand Azure Monitor is using metrics and logs to complete these various actions. So here's an example of our logs and our metrics. We can use log analytics to look at our logs, or even the metrics explorer to look at the metrics across particular resources. So all the data that's collected by Azure Monitor fits into one of these two types. You either have the metric or the log. And understanding the difference in those data types in how it's collected and how it's accessed, like for instance with logs and log analytics and Custo queries, understanding that language in terms of that it's accessible through a SQL type language that you can access these various data types. Application Insights, one of my favorite services. Application Insights, you can actually instrument applications at all different levels so that you can provide either custom telemetry or application level telemetry and log that and visualize that if you wanted to and extract that. So what's interesting with Application Insights is that you can instrument your application all the way from the front end all the way to the back end. So that telemetry can be sent again to our logs and our metrics information. We have those two data sets. It's the same area that Azure Monitor is using. We're going to pump it into that same data store, and then we can visualize it from there. So you can instrument the entire application and implementing Azure Application Insights, pretty straightforward, but I highly advise you go create a web app and turn on App Insights, see what kind of data is being processed, and see how you can further instrument the application with the App Insights SDK. And do know there are SDKs across various languages that you can instrument Java applications, Node applications, does not really matter. And you could send that telemetry and custom telemetry from those various application and application types. So we have a quick practice question here. So you're developing and deploying an Azure App Service web app. The web app includes streaming media and several formats. Users are reporting that media streaming is slow and varies by region. You need to increase the performance of the media streaming. What should you implement? Is it Azure Redis Cache, Azure CDN, Azure Traffic Manager, or Azure Front Door Service? So you really need to understand the differences here between our various implementations and the benefits of those implementations to our application. And the answer actually is the content development network. So this is actually going to be able to store our media, again, at those point of presence servers and increase performance of the media streaming to those users, because it's going to stream from a local server. And this concludes our 5th video, focused in on monitoring, troubleshooting, and optimizing Azure solutions. And our 6th and final video is upcoming. Thank you.